Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing HFY stories. Hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest uploads. The stars had always been a source of fascination for Captain Clara Westbrook, but it wasn't the usual fascination that came with stargazing. As a skilled pilot in the United Federation of Planets, she had spent years charting the darkest corners of the galaxy. But nothing could have prepared her for the encounter that would change everything. Her ship, the Vanguard, was on a routine reconnaissance mission to the Sirius Cluster, an uncharted region on the edge of known space. There were rumors of strange phenomena, and Clara, a seasoned explorer, was tasked with gathering data. Her crew had long been accustomed to the deep void silence, their only company the occasional static of their communication systems. But today something was different. There was a hum in the air, a pulse that seemed to reverberate through the hull of the Vanguard. "I've never seen anything like it," murmured Lieutenant Rhea, Clara's second-in-command, as she stared at the holographic display in the ship's command center. Clara furrowed her brow, peering at the swirling mass of energy forming ahead of them. The anomaly seemed to shimmer with a faint, otherworldly glow, but there was no time to dwell on it. The readings were unstable and the Vanguard was dangerously close to its core. "Steady, Lieutenant," Clara ordered, her voice steady. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We don't know what we're dealing with." Suddenly, the hum escalated, and a brilliant light exploded from the anomaly. The ship was torn from its trajectory as if a force far beyond anything humans could comprehend was pulling them in. The crew scrambled, but before Clara could issue another command, the world around them vanished. When Clara regained consciousness, the lights aboard the Vanguard flickered dimly. The ship was in one piece, but it had been transported to a strange, unfamiliar environment. She could feel the weightlessness in the air, but it was the sense of being watched that made the hair on the back of her neck rise. Rhea was already at her side. "Captain, we've been transported. We're no longer in the Sirius Cluster." "Where are we?" Clara demanded, still groggy but trying to regain her bearings. "I'm not sure. But the scans show a planetary system nearby. At least there's a planet with an atmosphere." Clara scanned the readouts. The anomaly had somehow opened a rift, pulling them across vast distances in a fraction of a second. But the strangest part? The readings from the nearby planet indicated a level of technology far beyond what any known species in the Federation had achieved. As they prepared to investigate the planet, Clara couldn't shake the sense that they weren't alone. She couldn't explain it, but something about the whole situation screamed dangerous, and yet compelling. The planet's surface was covered in lush, sprawling forests, and the air was thick with the scent of unfamiliar flowers. The crew disembarked, scanning the surroundings for any signs of life. Clara led the way, her boots sinking slightly into the soft earth as they moved through the dense foliage. That was when they saw it. Standing at the edge of a clearing partially obscured by tall trees, was a figure. At first Clara thought it was a mirage. The being was tall, taller than any human, with skin the color of the deepest midnight. Their bodies shimmered faintly, as though the fabric of reality itself bent around them. They were humanoid but far from anything Clara had ever seen. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural luminescence, and their silver hair flowed like liquid mercury. The figure stepped forward, and Clara instinctively reached for her sidearm, her heart pounding. But before she could raise the weapon, the being spoke, its voice smooth, melodic, and impossibly deep. "You are far from home, Captain." The words felt like they were not just heard but felt in the mind. Clara's breath caught in her throat as she realized this being wasn't just speaking, it was telepathically communicating. "We were brought here by accident," Clara said, keeping her voice steady despite the swirling maelstrom of emotions inside her. "We mean no harm." The alien tilted its head, its glowing eyes scanning her with a mix of curiosity and something deeper. "You speak the language of the stars," it noted. "But your presence here, it is not a coincidence. I sensed you the moment you arrived." Clara narrowed her eyes, sensing a deep undercurrent in the alien's tone. Something was unsettling yet alluring about the way it looked at her. "We didn't mean to disturb anything. We're just trying to find a way home," Clara said, her heart racing. She couldn't help but feel an inexplicable pull toward this being, a magnetism she couldn't explain. It was as if every cell in her body was attuned to its presence. The alien stepped closer, its movements graceful and fluid, as though it was part of the very air around them. "You will find a way home, Captain. But it may not be the path you expect." Clara's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" The alien's lips curled into a slight smile, though it wasn't one of amusement. "You are not just lost in space. You are lost in time. And once you cross that threshold, you may never return the way you came." Clara didn't know what to make of the words. But before she could question the alien further, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. Her instincts kicked in and she immediately scanned the surroundings. "Something's coming," Clara said, turning toward her crew. "We need to move now." The alien raised a hand, and the tremor ceased instantly as if the being had controlled the very ground beneath them. "You are safe, Captain. For now." But Clara knew better. They had no idea what they had just stumbled upon, or the kind of danger they were now in. And yet, something inside her told her that the alien, the creature standing before her, held the key to everything, whether it was their way home, or their doom. As she locked eyes with the alien, Clara felt that strange pull again. There was no denying it. This was only the beginning of something much more complicated, something far beyond anything she could have anticipated. And deep within her, Clara felt a stirring that she could not ignore. Clara's pulse was still racing as the alien's glowing eyes lingered on her. She could feel the weight of its gaze as though it was not just studying her physical form but something deeper within her, something more profound. She had always been trained to remain calm under pressure, but the strange, magnetic energy emanating from this being made it impossible to ignore. There was an intensity in the air, a charge that hummed through her veins. Her crew seemed on edge too, though they tried to maintain composure. Lieutenant Rhea kept a close watch on the alien, her hand near the blaster holstered at her side. But Clara didn't feel threatened, not by this being at least. There was something about its presence that felt ancient, wise, almost protective. "We need to go back to the ship," Clara said finally, breaking the silence. Her voice was steady, but she couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that this wasn't the place to stay. "We'll figure this out from there." The alien made a soft, almost musical noise, a sound that seemed to resonate through the air. "Your vessel is not safe here, Captain. Not where you have arrived." Clara raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, not safe?" The alien tilted its head and for a moment, it looked almost amused. "Your ship will not withstand the energies here. It will fall apart like all things that touch this world. The rift you pass through will not hold your vessel for long." Clara's heart sank. "Then we're stranded here." The alien nodded slowly, its silvery hair flowing like liquid light. "For now. But there is another way." Rhea moved forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Another way? What exactly are you suggesting?" The alien's smile was enigmatic, as if it knew something they didn't. "Follow me. I will show you what lies ahead." Clara hesitated for only a moment before nodding. She had no choice. They were stranded on an unfamiliar planet, and the last thing she needed was to antagonize an alien being that seemed to hold dominion over the strange energy field that had brought them here. "All right," Clara said, her voice firm. "Lead the way." The alien led them through the dense forest, its movements fluid and graceful, as if it were part of the very landscape. Clara's crew followed, still cautious but intrigued. The planet's atmosphere was thick with an unfamiliar, earthy smell, and the air seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy. The forest stretched on endlessly, but there was a strange sort of harmony to it, as though everything was interconnected. As they walked, Clara couldn't help but glance at the alien every so often. It moved with an effortless elegance that seemed almost supernatural, and yet, there was something undeniably human about the way it looked at her. There was an emotion behind its glowing eyes, something raw and intimate that made Clara's heart flutter unexpectedly. "You seem distracted, Captain," the alien said, its voice soft and knowing. "Is there something you wish to ask?" Clara snapped out of her thoughts, startled by the alien's perceptiveness. No. She trailed off, unsure of how to express what was gnawing at her. It was as if a connection had already begun to form between them, and it terrified her. She had never been one to let emotions cloud her judgment, especially not in a situation as perilous as this one. But she couldn't deny the magnetic pull she felt toward this being, an attraction that was both alien and familiar at the same time. The alien stopped abruptly, its head tilting slightly. "You are afraid, Captain. But not of me. You fear what you feel." Clara opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. She had never been one to shy away from fear, but this was different. This feeling wasn't just fear, it was desire, a longing for something she couldn't even begin to understand. And it terrified her more than anything else. "You are not the first human to feel this way," the alien continued, its voice low and almost intimate. "The bond between our species is not a new one. It has existed for eons, long before your kind learned to traverse the stars." Clara's brow furrowed. "Bond? What do you mean?" The alien's smile deepened, though it was no less enigmatic. "There are ancient ties between your people and mine. A connection forged long before you were born, before your species even knew of us. You are drawn to me because, in a way, you have always known me. Your ancestors, your kind, have always known us. Clara shook her head, trying to make sense of the words. I don't understand. We've never encountered your people before. The alien's eyes softened, and it stepped closer to her. Clara could feel the heat radiating from its presence, an intensity that made her heart race. You have encountered us. In dreams, in whispers, in the deepest parts of your collective memories. The connection between our species runs deeper than any starship or galaxy. It is woven into your very being. Clara took a step back, the weight of its words sinking in. She had always believed herself to be a rational, scientific person. Someone who trusted facts, data, and logic. But this was something she couldn't explain. She had never felt this kind of connection with anyone, let alone an alien. And yet, here she was, standing on a strange planet with a being whose presence was both comforting and unnerving. The alien reached out, its long fingers brushing the side of Clara's face with a tenderness that took her by surprise. Do not fear what you feel. Embrace it. For in you I see something rare, a human who understands. Clara's breath caught in her throat. She opened her mouth to protest, to pull away, but the words never came. There was something in the alien's gaze, something that spoke to her on a deeper level, something that made all of her resistance crumble away. She had never felt such an intense pull toward anyone before, and it frightened her, because this wasn't just physical attraction. It was something much more profound. Without thinking, Clara reached out, her hand trembling as she touched the alien's arm. The moment her skin made contact with its shimmering surface, a jolt of electricity shot through her, and her entire body seemed to hum in unison with the alien's energy. For a brief moment, everything else faded away. There was no mission, no crew, no galaxy. There was only Clara and the alien, standing together in the heart of this strange, uncharted world. And in that moment, Clara understood something fundamental, that her fate, and perhaps the fate of humanity, was inextricably bound to this being and the ancient connection it spoke of. Clara stood still, her hand lingering on the alien's arm, the contact sending shockwaves of warmth and energy through her body. For a moment, everything around her seemed to fade. The sounds of the forest, the distant hum of her crew behind her, all became distant as the connection between her and this being deepened. She could feel its presence in her mind, a strange sensation that was both foreign and familiar. The alien's eyes shimmered, glowing brighter as it gazed at her, as if it could sense her every thought, every feeling. It was both unsettling and intimate, as if it could see through her in a way that no one ever had. The pull between them was undeniable, like an invisible thread that tethered her to it, drawing her closer with each passing second. Captain, the alien spoke, its voice a soft murmur in her mind. You are not like the others. Clara's heart raced as it spoke to her telepathically. The sensation was not entirely alien to her. She had encountered telepathic species before, but never one that felt so personal, so raw. Her hand remained on its arm, though she wasn't sure if she was still in control of her actions. It was as though she were no longer herself, no longer just a human, but something more, something part of this connection. What do you mean? Clara whispered, her voice barely audible. Her breath was shallow, her body aching from the intensity of the alien's touch. You are not afraid, the alien replied, its voice a calming, seductive presence in her mind. Most who encounter us are driven by fear, fear of the unknown, fear of what we are capable of. But you accept what you feel. You embrace it? Clara's heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of confusion and longing surging through her. I don't understand, she said, her voice trembling as she tried to make sense of everything. I don't know who you are or what you want. I don't know what this is. The alien stepped closer, its presence overwhelming in a way she could not explain. I am called Eller. My people have watched over your species for millennia. Our connection is ancient, though you have forgotten it. But you, Clara Westbrook, have awakened something deep within yourself, something buried beneath the surface of your humanity. Clara's mind raced. She had heard of alien species that had interacted with humans throughout history, but nothing like this. Eller's words resonated with a part of her that she couldn't identify, something deep within her that felt both alive and ancient, as though her soul had been intertwined with this being's essence long before she ever took flight on the Vanguard. I don't know what to say, Clara murmured, still grappling with the overwhelming connection. Eller's hand lifted, gently cupping Clara's cheek, and the sensation was unlike anything she had ever felt before. It was warm, electric, yet tender. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to be consumed by the touch. Her mind raced. What was happening to her? But she couldn't bring herself to pull away. She didn't want to. You do not need to say anything, Clara, Eller whispered, its voice both in her mind and in her ear. You feel it too. The bond between us is not something that can be put into words. It simply is. It has always been. Clara opened her eyes, meeting Eller's glowing gaze. Her breath caught in her throat, her chest tight with a mixture of fear and desire. She could feel the emotions swirling within her, as though everything she had ever known had been turned upside down. She had never been one to surrender herself to anything, let alone an alien being, but in this moment she felt as though she was standing at the edge of something profound. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered, her voice raw with vulnerability. I don't know what this means. Eller's expression softened, and it slowly lowered its hand from her cheek. You are not alone in this, Clara. This bond is as much a part of you as it is a part of me. But you must choose to embrace it. The path ahead will not be easy. There will be those who will not understand, those who will try to tear us apart. But this bond, our connection, is something that transcends everything you have known. Clara swallowed hard, the weight of Eller's words sinking in. The danger, the consequences, she had never been one to shy away from the unknown. But this was different. This was a bond that went beyond anything she could comprehend. She had always prided herself on her rationality, on her ability to remain grounded in the face of danger. Yet here she was, on the verge of stepping into something that could change everything about her world, about her life. She looked over her shoulder at her crew, still waiting at a distance. They had no idea what was happening here, and she couldn't even explain it to them. Would they understand? Would they accept this strange, forbidden connection? She could already imagine their questions, their suspicions. And yet, none of that seemed to matter now. What mattered was this connection, this inexplicable bond with Eller. You must choose, Clara, Eller said, its voice gentle yet firm. But know this, the moment you embrace this connection, there is no turning back. Clara's heart was torn. She had always believed in her duty, her mission, and her loyalty to her crew. She couldn't just abandon them. But she also couldn't ignore the pull she felt toward Eller, toward this alien presence that had begun to consume her thoughts, her very soul. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. I don't know what to do. But I can't deny what I feel. I want to understand it. I need to understand it. Eller's eyes softened and a slow, knowing smile spread across its face. Then come with me. There is much I can show you, Clara. But you must come willingly. The journey ahead will be one of discovery, of awakening, and of untold challenges. Clara nodded, her voice barely a whisper. I'm ready. With that, Eller extended a hand toward her, its fingers glowing faintly. Clara hesitated for only a moment before reaching out, her hand trembling slightly as it met Eller's. The moment their skin touched, a wave of energy surged through her, filling her with an intensity that she had never experienced. It was as though every part of her being was ignited, every nerve alive with a sensation she couldn't quite explain. Together they stepped forward, leaving behind the safety of her ship and her crew, stepping into the unknown. And as they moved deeper into the heart of the alien world, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that her life, her very existence, had been irrevocably changed. There was no turning back now. The bond had already been formed, and her fate was now intertwined with Eller's. Clara walked beside Eller through the dense, glowing forest, the air thick with the scent of alien flora and the hum of the planet's energy. She could feel the presence of the planet itself, as though it were alive and aware of her every step. It was an unsettling yet exhilarating sensation, a reminder that she was no longer on the familiar turf of the Federation but in an entirely foreign world where the laws of reality seemed to bend and twist. Eller's stride was graceful and fluid, its glowing skin casting a soft light on the dark foliage around them. Clara couldn't help but notice how its form seemed to shift, the edges blurring as though it were made of light itself. It was as if Eller existed outside of the constraints of physicality, like it was part of the very fabric of the universe. Where are we going? Clara asked, her voice steady but filled with curiosity. Her hands still tingled from the brief contact they'd shared, and the pull between them only seemed to grow stronger the further they traveled into the unknown. Eller's glowing eyes glanced at her, their expression unreadable, though Clara sensed no malice, only an ancient, serene understanding. We are going to the heart of the world. It is where the past and the future converge. It is the place where you will begin to understand what has awakened within you. Clara's heart skipped a beat at the mention of that heart of the world. She wasn't sure what Eller meant by that, but it sounded both sacred and dangerous, like a place where the very essence of existence was stored, something so powerful that it could unravel everything she knew about herself and the universe. As they walked, Clara felt an almost overwhelming sense of anticipation building within her. The forest around them seemed to pulse, the trees moving in a synchronized dance, as if they were reacting to Eller's presence. The energy in the air grew thicker, more tangible, and Clara's senses heightened, attuned to every sound, every shift in the atmosphere. "You've brought me here to learn something about my connection to you, haven't you?" Clara asked, trying to make sense of the growing intensity between them. She could feel it in her blood now, an awareness and understanding that was not entirely her own. She had always thought of herself as strong, independent, a captain in control of her destiny. But now that certainty seemed to be slipping away, replaced by something much deeper, much more intimate. Eller's voice rang out in her mind, low and resonant. "Yes, Captain. This connection is not a new one for your kind. It has existed for eons, woven into the very fabric of your history. But you are the first to awaken to it in this way. You are the first to feel the bond with your soul." Clara stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest. "What do you mean by that? My soul?" Eller's gaze softened, and for the first time it stepped back, giving Clara space. "You were chosen, Clara Westbrook. Chosen by the stars. By the ancient forces that guide all life. Your ancestors were aware of us, of our presence, long before your people began their journey among the stars. But the connection was lost, buried beneath time and space." Clara's mind was reeling, her thoughts tumbling over each other as she tried to process Eller's words. Her ancestors. Chosen by the stars? She had been told stories as a child about humanity's rise into space, about the ancient civilizations that had come before, but this was something entirely different. What does this have to do with me?" she asked, her voice shaky. "I'm just one person. One captain of a ship. Why would I be chosen?" Eller's expression softened, and it closed the distance between them once more, its presence filling Clara's senses. "You are not just one person, Clara. You are the heir to something ancient. A legacy that has been dormant for too long. You are the bridge between your species and mine, the one who can awaken the full potential of this bond." The words felt like they were being etched into her mind, deeper and deeper until she could almost hear the hum of ancient power vibrating in the air around her. She wanted to pull away, to dismiss this as some kind of fever dream, but deep down she knew that Eller was telling the truth. She could feel it in her very bones, the stirrings of something long forgotten, something buried deep within her. "You mean, I'm not just human?" Clara's voice cracked slightly, the enormity of what Eller was saying dawning on her. "There's something else inside of me?" Eller nodded slowly, its eyes filled with ancient wisdom. "Your human form is the vessel, but your essence, your soul is connected to something greater. Something that transcends time and space. You have the potential to understand what lies beyond the veil of your reality." Clara's mind raced. She could feel the weight of Eller's words pressing down on her, but the pull between them was undeniable. She could feel her soul-stirring response as if it recognized Eller's presence, as if it remembered. "What do I need to do?" Clara asked, her voice steady now, though the uncertainty still lingered. "What happens next?" Eller smiled, and in that smile, Clara saw something ancient and profound. "You must awaken, Clara. You must allow yourself to embrace the power that lies dormant within you. The heart of the world is where your awakening begins." They reached a clearing at the heart of the forest, and Clara's breath caught in her throat. The ground in front of her seemed to shimmer, the air growing thick with a radiant energy that vibrated through every cell in her body. In the center of the clearing stood a massive structure, something that looked like a temple, its walls made of an iridescent material that seemed to pulse with life. "This is it," Eller said, its voice low. "The heart of the world. The place where your destiny awaits." Clara's heart pounded in her chest as she stepped forward, the air around her humming with the energy that filled the clearing. She could feel the pull deep within her, the very core of her being was being drawn toward the structure. She didn't understand it, but she didn't question it either. The connection was undeniable. She had no choice but to follow it. Eller stepped beside her, its presence grounding her in an almost comforting way. "This is where the past and future meet," Eller explained. "You must unlock the knowledge hidden within you. Your connection to us, to this place, will allow you to access the memories of your ancestors, those who first made the bond with my people." Clara took a deep breath, feeling a deep sense of responsibility settling over her. The truth was within her reach, and with it, the power to change everything, not just for her but for humanity as a whole. The questions swirled in her mind, but one thing was certain: she was no longer just a captain. She was the key to something far greater than she had ever imagined. As she stepped into the temple, she felt the weight of her destiny bear down upon her, the world around her shifting and changing as she crossed the threshold into the unknown. As Clara stepped across the threshold of the heart of the world, the air around her seemed to shift. The vibrational hum that had been subtly present in the forest grew louder, more distinct, as if the very structure of the temple resonated with her. The walls pulsed with an ethereal glow, their surface shifting, like liquid light that stretched and folded in response to their presence. She felt an overwhelming sense of awe, of reverence, as she stepped deeper into the chamber. It was vast, far larger than anything she had imagined. The ceiling arced high above her, seemingly endless, while beneath her feet, the ground was covered in a smooth, reflective surface that glowed softly, illuminating her every movement. It felt alive, as if the very floor was attuned to her presence, her every step. Eller stood beside her, its presence both calming and commanding, as though it had been here before countless times. This place has seen the rise and fall of many worlds, Clara. The knowledge here is older than time itself. It is the place where the minds of our people meet, the bridge between your species and mine. Clara's heart raced. She had come to this planet seeking answers, but what lay before her was far beyond what she had expected. The air seemed to shimmer with a force and energy that almost made it difficult to breathe, as if something vast and powerful was stirring within the very walls. But it wasn't just the place. It was her. She could feel the stirrings of something deep inside her, a shift in her very being, as if her body and mind were unlocking, expanding beyond the boundaries of what she had known. Do you feel it? Eller's voice came, soft and knowing. Clara didn't need to answer. Eller already knew. She did feel it more than she could explain. It was as though her soul was being pulled in multiple directions, her mind expanding, reaching out for something that felt just beyond her grasp. They moved deeper into the temple, passing through towering columns that seemed to hum with ancient power. The walls were covered with strange symbols, an intricate mix of alien and human-like designs, a fusion of cultures that Clara could barely comprehend. Some of the symbols were familiar to her, while others seemed like nothing she had ever seen. The more she looked at them, the more they seemed to speak to her, though not with words. It was a feeling, an impression, a deep connection. Those symbols, Clara said, her voice tinged with wonder, they're like a language, but not one I can translate. Eller's gaze softened. They are a language, but not one that your species is ready to fully comprehend. They are a key, a part of the puzzle that has been hidden for millennia. But you, Clara, are the one who can unlock their meaning. Clara glanced at Eller, her brow furrowing. I don't know how to unlock them. How do I even begin? Eller smiled gently, the light in its eyes intensifying. You've already begun. The connection between us is the first key. You must let go of your doubts and let the bond between us guide you. Trust in it. Trust in yourself. With that, Eller gestured toward the center of the chamber. At the heart of the vast space stood an enormous, crystalline structure, towering and majestic, its surface flickering with streams of light like the stars themselves had been captured within its core. It was both beautiful and intimidating, a beacon of knowledge and power that seemed to draw Clara in. The heart of the world, Eller whispered, is where the consciousness of all who have ever touched this place is stored. Here, the past, present, and future exist simultaneously. All the knowledge of our people, the shared experiences, the discoveries, the history, is stored within this core. And now, Clara, it is time for you to connect with it. Clara hesitated. She had always prided herself on being in control of her decisions and her actions, but now she found herself on the verge of something so immense, so profound, that it threatened to overwhelm her. The pull of the heart of the world was undeniable, but fear gnawed at her. What if she wasn't ready? What if she couldn't handle the truth of what lay inside? Eller's voice broke through her doubts, calm and soothing. You are ready, Clara. You've always been ready. The choice is not whether you're prepared, but whether you will embrace it. Clara nodded slowly, taking a deep breath. Eller was right. She had been chosen, had felt the pull, and there was no turning back. She stepped forward, her heart pounding as she approached the crystalline structure. As she neared it, the light inside seemed to shimmer more intensely, and Clara felt a deep sense of connection, as if the heart of the world recognized her, as if it were calling to her. She raised her hand and placed it gently against the surface of the crystal. The moment her skin made contact, a shockwave of energy surged through her, a flood of light and sensations overwhelming her senses. It was as if the very fabric of the universe was unraveling in front of her, exposing secrets and truths that she had never known, never even dreamed of. Her body tensed as the visions began to flood her mind, flashes of stars, of alien worlds, of humanity's first steps into space. She saw the faces of her ancestors, their eyes filled with wonder and awe as they gazed at the stars. She saw the first contact with Eller's people, the forging of a bond that had lasted millennia. She felt the pull of the universe itself, the connection between all living things, the intricate web that wove everything together. The knowledge came faster now, filling her mind, her soul, her very being. She saw civilizations rise and fall, galaxies being born and destroyed, and the ebb and flow of life across the stars. And through it all she felt Eller's presence, steady, guiding, supportive. And then, amidst the flood of images and sensations, Clara saw something else. Her. Not as the captain of the vanguard, not as a human, but as something more, something ancient. She saw herself as a bridge, as the chosen one who would unite the people of her world with Eller's, someone who could unlock the dormant potential in both species. The connection between them was deeper than she had ever imagined. It wasn't just about love or attraction, it was about something more profound, more fundamental to the very nature of existence. The visions began to slow, the overwhelming tide of information tapering off, leaving Clara breathless, her head spinning. She pulled her hand away from the crystal, her mind racing to process everything she had seen. But even as the knowledge settled within her, she knew one thing with certainty. Her life had changed forever. The universe was no longer just a vast, unknown expanse. It was a tapestry, intricately woven and waiting for her to unravel its mysteries. Eller's voice echoed in her mind, gentle yet filled with a quiet power. "You have seen the truth, Clara. Now you must decide what to do with it." Clara stood there, her body trembling from the intensity of the experience, her mind awash with newfound knowledge. She understood now. She understood her purpose, her connection to Eller's people, to the ancient bond that had been lost to time. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be resistance, there would be doubt, but Clara knew she was ready. Clara stood motionless before the heart of the world, her hand still tingling from its brief contact with the crystal. Her breath was shallow, her mind a whirlwind of images and emotions that threatened to overwhelm her. She had glimpsed the vast history of her people, the ancient bond between humanity and Eller's species, and the future that was now intertwined with both. But in the wake of it all, one thought rose above the rest. What was she supposed to do with this knowledge? She turned slowly toward Eller, who stood silently by her side. The alien's glowing eyes were filled with quiet understanding, as though it had known this moment was coming, knew that Clara would have to confront the full weight of what had just been revealed to her. There was no judgment, no pressure in its gaze, only a deep, abiding patience. "You've seen it," Eller said softly, its voice carrying through Clara's mind. "The choice now lies with you. The path forward is yours to choose." Clara's pulse quickened at those words. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her chest, but it wasn't the kind of burden that crushed her. Rather, it set her heart alight. She had learned about the ancient connection between humanity and Eller's species, how the two had once been intertwined in a shared destiny. It was a bond that had been severed by time, lost in the chaos of forgotten history. But now that bond had been reignited within her, and with it, a potential that was both thrilling and terrifying. "What happens now?" Clara asked, her voice steady, though her mind still swirled with confusion and uncertainty. "What do you need me to do?" Eller stepped closer, its form shifting like light, a calm yet intense presence at her side. "You are the catalyst for the awakening. The knowledge you have gained is not just for you alone, it is for both our people. For too long we have been separated, and the universe has suffered because of it. But now you have the power to unite us, to bring about the union that was once foretold." Clara's eyes narrowed as she absorbed Eller's words. The knowledge she had received, the images of ancient civilizations and alien worlds, all pointed toward one thing: the potential for a union between humans and Eller's people, a bond that could change the course of history. But it wasn't as simple as forging an alliance or bringing two species together. The task ahead of her was monumental, and there was no guarantee that it would succeed. "What's standing in the way?" Clara asked, her tone sharp. "Why hasn't this union happened already?" Eller's expression softened, and for the first time, it appeared almost sad. "Fear," it said simply. "Fear and misunderstanding. There are those among your kind who would see our connection as a threat, and those among my people who have long since given up on the idea of true partnership with humanity. The bond we share is powerful, but it is also dangerous. It challenges the very fabric of the status quo. Those who fear what we represent will try to tear us apart." Clara clenched her fists, her determination building. She had faced danger and opposition before as a captain and a leader. But this was different. This was not just about her life or the safety of her crew, it was about the future of two entire species. "I won't let that happen," Clara said firmly. "I can't promise that the road ahead will be easy, but I will fight for this. I'll fight for our future." Eller's eyes glowed brighter, and Clara felt a wave of warmth wash over her, an affirmation, a recognition of her commitment. "You have the strength of your ancestors within you, Clara. They chose you for a reason. You are the one who can bridge the gap between us, who can heal the rift that has existed for so long." Clara nodded slowly, her gaze fixed on the glowing crystal at the center of the chamber. The knowledge she had unlocked here was more than just facts and figures. It was a call to action, a responsibility she couldn't ignore. The vision of the future she had seen was clear now, a future where humanity and Eller's species were united, where the ancient bond was restored, and together, they could explore the universe as one. But the path ahead wouldn't be easy. There were forces that would resist this union, those who saw it as a threat, those who feared change. Clara knew there would be battles to fight, both in the hearts of her people and the hearts of Ellers. And the most difficult part? The realization that not everyone would accept this connection. Some would see it as an abomination, a betrayal of everything they knew. She would have to stand against them, not just as a captain, but as a symbol of the future she believed in. She turned back to Eller, her resolve hardening. "I'll need support. I can't do this alone." "You will not be alone," Eller replied, its voice both comforting and powerful. "We will be with you every step of the way. But you must begin by convincing your people, the Federation. You must show them the truth of what lies between us and what it can mean for both our species." Clara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She knew the challenges ahead would test everything she believed in, every decision she had ever made. The Federation would be difficult to convince. After all, they had always viewed alien species with suspicion, and the idea of a partnership with Eller's people would be seen as nothing short of madness. But Clara had learned something in her time as a captain. Sometimes, the hardest battles were the ones fought within the hearts of those closest to you. "I'll start with my crew," Clara said. "They're my family. If I can convince them, maybe we can reach the Federation. But I need your help. I need you to stand by me." Eller's eyes softened, and it stepped closer, placing a hand gently on Clara's shoulder, a gesture that was both reassuring and intimate. "We will stand by you, Clara Westbrook. Together, we will bring about the change that the universe so desperately needs." Clara felt the weight of the moment settle over her like a mantle. She had made her choice. She was no longer just a captain of the Vanguard, no longer just a human navigating the stars. She was a bridge between two worlds, a symbol of hope for the future. The knowledge she had gained was not just a gift, it was a responsibility. She would fight for this bond, for the future of humanity and Eller's species. As she turned to leave the heart of the world, Eller by her side, Clara knew that her journey had only just begun. The road ahead would be fraught with danger and doubt, but she would face it with courage, with the strength of her people and the ancient connection she now carried within her. And with that, the first step toward the future began. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more exciting HFY stories. Your support means the world to us. And make sure to tap the bell icon so you never miss an update. Stay tuned for our next adventure, and until then, keep exploring the stars. See you in the next video.